Are you
There you
ready?
go. Record.
All right. Hey, I'm Michelle,
And I'm Ronald.
and this is Talking
That's your
Squirrels.
middle school podcast. We're keeping it. We're going with that.
I haven't seen squirrels.
See, and to think what we're doing. See, I'm the one with the kid homesick from school today, and you're the one with the brain farts. How does that work?
I just looked at my coffee and I was like, I need to take a sip right now. And then
Like
just
during
it
the
took too
introduction.
long.
That's fantastic. Hey everybody, welcome. Glad you're here. Michelle, do you need here? I'm going to talk for a little bit, and you drink some coffee. Okay.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate
Okay,
that.
good. No, if you are in ministry and doing middle school ministry, you know right now things are in the thick of it, right? You are halfway into your fall semester. It is October.
You're probably
We are
contemplating if you are going to come back next semester.
right. You're trying to think if this is it, if this is the last run, maybe. Yeah, and so you probably are trying to think, all right, what is my big thing? Or if you're like us in our ministry, you're really gearing up for your one of your tentpole events. Now, I had told Michelle about, hey, let's do an episode about you're really kind of your tentpole events, and she said you've never heard this term before. That's not something that you have.
No, I've literally never heard of something called a tentpole event.
Okay, so I know I'm not smart enough to come up with that on my own. Like some other person said it. I'm just now claiming it. And so
Is this
it's
a generational thing?
maybe. Wait, are you calling me old?
No, what?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So Michelle thinks I'm old.
Wait, are you millennial?
I am an older. I'm an old millennial. I'm 34. I don't know if you knew that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Sure
I'm
thing.
an older millennial. I've owned 3 houses, and yeah, I'm that kind of millennial.
Okay.
I also have
I don't know if I count you as a millennial anymore.
All right, so I've owned 3 houses, and I started my retirement account at 21. So I don't know. I'm a weird millennial. Yeah. So no, temple events, like you imagine like a big circus tent, right? And so not just like the tent that you pop up, like and go camping in, like the big circus tent, and you think of like the really big tent pole in the middle that holds the thing up, and like all the rest of the stuff is kind of suspended. All the rest of the canvas, the fabric is suspended from that one, or in the case of larger tents, those several tent poles. And so the idea of a tent pole event is like, what are the events that you do that kind of help drive your ministry? Not necessarily that like like you base your ministry on, but that give you momentum, give your students something to look forward to. Maybe it's your big discipleship push, or your big outreach push, or your big missions push, whatever that might be. Something that helps kind of like bring students back in who have left, and get students excited who have been around, give them something to look forward to. And so that's what I mean when I say a tent pole event. Does that make sense, Michelle?
See, now that makes sense.
Okay.
When you describe it.
Do you have like a name for those normally, or you're just like, these are the big things we do? Like, is this kind of...
These are events.
There you go.
That we do yearly.
So when I think of an event, I could think of like, last Wednesday night when our small groups all chose like what they were going to do for their small group. So they went all over the city and planned little things. Like that's an event.
Oh, fun.
So that can happen. But like this one that we're going to right now is our Disciple Now weekend. It's our stay and host homes, have worship, at church with the band and the speaker, and it's our big discipleship push, right? And it's our big event for the fall. And so like we use it to like, help the cohesion with these small groups, and try to be like, okay, all these small groups come together, right? You get to hang out with your leaders, you get to hang out with your group, you get to know each other more, because, over the week you spend an hour or 2 at youth group together,
right.
Multiple
really
times,
not a
maybe.
lot of time.
Yeah. So if you spend like a weekend together, like a D-Now or a retreat, you get to really invest in those students. And then as a leader, these are things that take up a lot of your time, right? Like you got to plan these things.
Yeah, totally.
So we started planning this event that's going to happen in November in August.
Oh,
So
wow.
like this is
That makes
this is
sense,
stuff that
though.
we
Like,
yeah, this is the stuff that we've been working on for a long time. And so
yeah.
there's a lot that goes into this. Um, so our big three are really our Disciple Now, our spring retreat, and our mission trip. Like those are kind of our big three. Like if you were to
Rad.
say, Michelle, like what are your big tentpole event kind of deals?
Oh, okay. I see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for us specifically, it would be our fall trip, which we call Fall Frenzy,
Right?
and probably our summer camp that we call Summer Escape. I think
I
those
remember.
two
No,
are
we
like our main like things. What's that?
did an episode about your summer camp. It was awesome. I remember you talking about it.
Yeah. So those two are like, okay, these are the two things like every single year we're doing those.
So
Um,
do you do anything like big in the spring, or do you just kind of let that spring ride?
we kind of let the spring ride. There's a lot happening, just like in our church in general during the spring. And so
Yeah.
we kind of give it some time, especially with Easter and like their spring break. They end up having like 3 weeks off.
Oh, really?
And we live in such we live in an area that has a lot of money, right? And so
Right.
usually our
Yeah.
students are traveling.
So like
Like
anything that you
they
would,
just had to take a break from school,
yeah,
and we ended up canceling our small groups because like 30 out of the 40 were
are
traveling
gone.
throughout Europe and like Asia.
So like anything you would throw on would like pale in comparison to like hiking in the
Oh,
Alps.
100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's strategic though. That makes sense for your context.
It does. Yeah, and it's fully cultural context. Like that's just
Yeah.
the culture we live in.
No, and that makes that really helps somebody thinking about like, okay, if they're gonna say these are my big events that I'm gonna focus all my time and energy into, like in your case, y'all have said, hey, because of our context, we're not going to put a ton of time and energy and money into a spring event because
Hmm.
we've seen that our church, like our people aren't here for that. So like
Yeah,
we're not going to coax them away with like a weekend retreat at a retreat center because they're going to go skiing. Like there's
yeah,
no way that we can up that.
yeah.
That's
Unfortunately,
strategic.
it happens a lot of well, that interferes with our trip, our family trip, um, which we totally understand. Like we want them to spend time with their families, um, but unfortunately, it's kind of seen. It's like, well, that's a hindrance to their life,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so
and so I imagine you're thinking through, we would like to be able to do something, but is that a hill
yes.
we're going to die on?
Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago, we tried doing just like a day trip up to the Tenderloin in San Francisco. And I
Did
think
you
we
eat a
ended
lot
up
of meat?
having, do we, what?
What did you call
A
this
lot of meat?
place?
It's called the Tenderloin.
Okay, so I asked if you ate a lot of meat. Terrible dad joke. Continue. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Awful. Oh gosh, Ron.
Okay.
I
Okay.
appreciate that. I appreciate you so much for that, though.
You're welcome.
But it's like it's a harder place, and I think we only had 3 students actually sign up.
Dang.
Yeah, and most of it
Was
was
that?
a lot because parents were too afraid of letting their kid
Huh.
go. So
Oh,
that was
really?
kind of like yeah. I tried creating something like a spring trip, and it just it didn't work.
Well, I mean, you don't want to unnecessarily pour, time and resources and money and things
Yeah,
like that into an event that's not going to work. And you did try something, and you got the response that's kind of solidified that. Maybe you try again in a couple years, you know.
totally.
But
Yeah, I would
if you,
love to end up doing something like that and making it a tentpole event of like, hey, we serve together.
yeah,
But right now
no,
we were like, okay, we have to figure out a different way of creating that service opportunity.
no, that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking in our context, like you've got your fall and your summer. What are you thinking are those? What are the themes for that for you? Like what I guess what's the main purpose of those trips? Like what
Hmm.
pushes them? Drive.
Like the why.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest thing for us is I'm a huge one. I just love camps.
Word.
I think if I wasn't in like church ministry, I would 100% love to know what it's like to be in camp ministry
Yeah.
because I fully have bought into it and I'm a firm believer in camp ministry. I think there's something really special about being able to get away from the normal everyday and placing students in an environment where they're uncomfortable.
No, I love that.
Yeah, and right, this is I think what I've seen most, especially with our summer camp trip, is they actually love when we do our own camp over going to like our Mount Hermon, which is our fall camp, which is like all created. It's like hyped up. It's they design the whole thing. Like we just come and show up.
But camp
But
in a
they
box.
love, yeah, absolutely. But they like love our summer camp where it's like just us and they get to be around each other.
No, so like that's building group, that's fellowship, like that
Yeah,
matters. That's huge.
yeah. What about
I
for
know
you
for
guys?
yeah, our three big ones, like I said, are our retreat, our DNOW, and our mission trip. The mission trip is 100% serving, getting outside your comfort zone, thinking about how you can serve other people, be with other people. Um, and so that's also trying to help get into the greater mission of our church, uh, like context, because our church is a
Yeah,
really big missions church. So we want our students to kind of catch that vision. So the
totally.
purpose of the mission trip is 100% that. The other ones, one of them, the one that we're working towards right now, the DNOW, is really the goal is get to know your small group and small group leader. Um,
I
so
love
it's
that.
discipleship. It it is that, but the purpose is to make sure that these small groups gel, that they get to spend a lot of time together, that they get to be um, like I guess figure out what their group dynamic is like, get to know one another, encourage one another. And so that's really our big push for RD now. Our spring trip is more like you are a part of the middle school ministry as a whole. So
Nice.
like when we do our little spring retreat, we don't break up into small groups based on existing small groups. We break students up randomly. So like sixth graders with eighth
Oh,
graders,
cool.
kind of stuff. So it's to try to say, hey, you belong, one of our purpose statements, in the middle school ministry, and here are all the other people who belong too. And
I
so
love that.
it's for spring, it's really you are a part of the greater middle school ministry, and for fall, it's hey, you are a part of your small group. And so we
Nice.
just try to push and do that.
Have you
And
found your students like um moving towards one of those over the other?
yeah,
Like is there one that they're like this is our favorite?
yeah, I think as far as signups go, we get a lot of excitement over our fall retreat. Like students are really jazzed about that. And I think that also has to do with parents, because parents are more
Mm,
likely willing to let their student go like overnight down the road, which is kind of what ours
yes.
our
That's what our
D
fall
now.
one is too.
Yeah, in town, down the road, really, really quick. And so it seems like that one gets most of our signups and excitement. The spring retreat gets excitement, but not as much buy-in because we're taking students like an hour and a half away, and mom and dad might be a little more um, cautious about that. And the mission trip is definitely the one that gets the least amount because like we're gone for a week, right? And so that mom and dad are typically really cautious, especially with our sixth
The
graders. They're like,
super nervous ones.
yeah. They're like, no, I don't know if you're ready for that. So I get a lot of seventh and eighth graders who come on the mission trip for the
Yeah.
first time, kind of deal.
That's similar to our summer camp. We get a lot of like seventh, eighth grade.
Yeah.
And the sixth grade parents are like, not yet.
Yeah, not
Which
this
totally
year.
makes sense. Like I get it.
It does. I wish there was some, you know, a little bit more buy-in, but honestly, it's great for what it is.
Absolutely.
So, middle
I
school
should
pastor, if
I
you
should mention as well, like one of the things what?
oh, go ahead. No, please.
Oh, I was gonna say, so one of the things that we do as well, we don't call them like our big events, but so we do one big event every month.
Ooh,
And they rotate. But they know like the last Tuesday of every month there's some sort of big event.
I saw like a nerd.
So it's not
something going on in your like
that was super fun.
yeah.
So a couple weeks ago, we had Katie here, and we partnered with 3 other churches plus Wildlife, which is the middle school branch of Young Life, and we put on a huge Nerf 4 event,
Sweet.
and it was dope.
It
It
sounds
was
awesome.
so much fun.
Well, and the
It was
Instagram
really fun. Yeah,
Instagram's
that was like, and
well.
that was like one of our events that we do. But so like our students know, like they always crave. They're like, can we do this event? Can we do this event? So there's certain ones that we do throughout the year
Like
that they know we're going to do every year.
yeah.
But it just depends on like when I decide we're going to play it or not.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So you're using the little events to also create community, foster engagement, things like that. That's big.
Yeah. Yeah. We call them riot nights.
Riot.
Yeah.
And you get to sign up their students for Riot Night. That's hilarious.
Absolutely. So and that's one of the cool things is we actually don't do signups for it.
Oh, you just show up?
They just show up.
Yes.
And those are some of our biggest nights we've seen.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So like they go and they play like, have you ever played Bigger or Better?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's like one of our things that they love. We won a wheelchair one year. It's still here somewhere.
Oh, well, hey, helping out the church too. That's nice.
Right. It became a staple. It ends up in random offices
I bet.
often.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Things like that.
Yeah. Okay, so whether or not you are doing big events that kind of drive the mission and purposes of your youth group, or you're doing the smaller things like Michelle is talking about on a more monthly basis, whatever event you do, middle school pastor, I hope that you are, figuring out this is helpful, this is accomplishing what I want it to do, and that it's driving your ministry and helping students connect to the ministry, connect to Jesus, and my goodness, keep doing what you're doing. Don't give up. It's the middle of fall. You got this. I believe in you.
You are strong. You can finish well.
Yes. Hey, and
Get to December.
If you are feeling particularly strong and feel like finishing well, go write a review for this podcast on Apple iTunes. Go do that thing for us. That would be great. Or share it and let somebody else know about Talking Squirrels and Middle School Ministry podcast.
We believe in you.
Michelle, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you, girl.
Ronald, always fun.
We will talk to y'all next week.
Bye.